What's up, guys? It's your boy James, aka 68J, and today I am joined by one of my good friends, Abs, with Good Morning Crypto. I'm so excited to have this guy on. I've been following his content. He's doing some phenomenal things. Abs, how you doing, my brother?
Amazing, man, and I can't thank you enough for having me on today. How about yourself? How you feeling?
Man, I am more than good. I just, we had the Bearable Bull on. Then I come with you, man. We got two legends. I'm super excited, brother. Can't have a better day than
Listen,
that.
I wouldn't put myself in the class of the Bearable Bull, that's for sure. But if you want to call me a legend, I'm not going to deny it. So thank you very much.
Hey, man, I'm just so proud of you. And I was talking to you backstage. To be at your age, doing the things you're doing, with the mindset you have is just phenomenal. So I'm really, really excited. The way we're going to start this off is before we even get into anything crypto, Abs, I want to know who is Abs and what were you doing prior to crypto, brother?
I had time to prepare for this question, so I'm not going to pretend like this is off the cuff here, guys. But
Okay.
When I first thought about my journey into crypto, it actually started when I was 16 years old. I went and I worked for my father full-time, no cell phone, basically working a 9-to-5, getting paid cash because I'm a 16-year-old, couldn't legally be on the books. And what I realized during that process was working that regular job and not taking speculative risk, I was never going to get wealthy. So I didn't know what I was going to do with that, but I figured it out pretty quickly at age 16. So by the time I graduated high school, I was all in on stocks. And I watched your video with Mikkel yesterday, or it might have been last night. He talked about a Tesla investment. I have the exact same story. Back in 2017, I purchased Tesla stock at $240. Now, people look at the stock price today. I'm not even sure what it's at, but you got to include the reverse splits in there because $240 Tesla, that was pretty cheap back in the day. I ended up buying that Tesla and I used that profit. And then after I cashed out, I can't remember exactly what happened, but January of 2020, I heard about Bitcoin. And this was before the C19 crisis, before everything had shut down. So I heard about it, but I didn't adopt the idea yet. I just kind of accepted, oh, that's interesting. Maybe I'll read more into it. It wasn't until the C19 crisis, as I'll call it, because I'm not sure what you call it,
right.
But when they sent everybody home from school, because I was a junior in college at the time, that's when I went all in. So it was 24/7, 365, Bearable Bull, digital asset investor, Coach JV, everybody that I still follow today, Crypto Eddie, Thinking Crypto as well. I could go on and on. So I don't want to leave anybody out here, but I began watching them every single day. And I want to give a special shout out to the digital asset investor as well, because I've never got to say this to him in a conversation or anything, but the digital asset investor, that was my go-to. I used to go on these 3, 4, 5 mile walks with my headphones on, and I would just go through the digital asset investor playlist. So it all started back when I was 16. Once I got into college, I really started to hear about the idea of Bitcoin. And then once I graduated and they sent us home for the C19 crisis, that's when it was 24/7, 365. And I also just want to give a shout out to Coach JV because he's the one who first gave me an opportunity to even make content in the first place. So I wouldn't have a platform if it wasn't for Coach JV, and I can't thank him enough for that. And I've been doing that about 2.5, 3 years now.
Brother, that's there's a couple things you said. It's just crazy. You were 16 and 16-year-olds just don't have that mindset. So I can only imagine it was just, you were watching your dad. You just, were you trained to have a business mindset? Because 16-year-olds typically don't think like that. Is that what it was?
What was interesting is that I went through a period where I didn't have a phone. So because I didn't have a phone, I had almost no distractions. So I was 24/7 at the auto shop with my dad, and all of the guys who I worked with and talked to all had this dream that one day they were going to be doing something different. And I realized I had the same dream. So I figured out that I'm just like these guys. And if I'm not going to take any action, I'll end up being 15, 20 years later in this exact same spot. So I don't know why I had that realization so young, but that was really what got me there, that I realized I think like everybody else and I got to change that.
No, you know what, man? I want to stay with that for a second because that's something that, I remember when I used to go to like certain stores, certain businesses, and you would see those dads and they would have their sons like at 12, 13, 14, ringing up stuff at the register. Yep. And I used to think, dude, that's so freaking brilliant. Like they're training these kids to have a business mindset from jump. They could be on the, at the park doing this, or, they're embracing real life lessons, man. And, to hear that that's what you were doing. And then DAI, man, I can't say enough about that brother. He's just next level and has a heart of gold. And him and Brad Kimes both, they reached out to me, which was nuts because I remember last year at XRP Las Vegas 2023, I was there and I was looking at these guys. And I've been on some of the biggest stages around the world, did that, award winner, all that stuff, not to impress him, but to impress upon you. I don't get impressed very easy. But the thing that really got me, Abs, was going to that event and looking around, and it definitely wasn't a meme coin convention. It wasn't like we were all there celebrating Chicago coin, and there's no such thing. I'm just being facetious because I don't want to talk about anybody's project. But the point I'm trying to make is, which is why I always say Chicago. Somebody's going to figure out and make a meme of that. But the point I'm trying to make is that I was there and I was just literally in awe. And I looked at my wife and I said, babe, I don't get impressed too easy, but dang it, everybody here is brilliant. Like, I mean, you could say celebrities. There were celebrities there. There were, celebrities I recognized. There were lawyers and financial advisors and just some politicians. I mean, I'm just like, whoa, and so we're not even talking about Brad and DA, all these other guys. Right. But I was just really impressed. And I remember looking at the stage, Abs, and going, one of these days I'm going to meet those guys and they're going to know who I am. And I was talking about DEI and Brad Kimes. And so over the last 60 days for them to reach out and like, bro, we want to help you. And I've even watched some of DAI streams where he had half his show talking about my channel. And I was like, whoa, these dudes are freaking phenomenal. So, man, yeah, you're right on. These guys are legends in the game for sure.
You know what I love about that story is that I come back to the idea of manifesting and believing in things and bringing them into fruition. You have to have a goal and you have to set an intention. If I'd never took the initiative of figuring out that I needed to do something differently, then I wouldn't have. And I think it sounds very simple when you talk about it up front, but you said it. How many people in the crowd that day had the same goal as you? We don't know, but only one of them really accomplished it. So I think it goes to speak for itself,
Yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly. So 16-year-old guy watching dad, you get into Tesla. What made you look at crypto and why and what year was that?
You know, what's funny is I was always an Elon Musk guy. So people have criticized me for this now because Elon Musk used to be the one that all the narrative people, they loved him. Now he's like the contrarian of the group. So I was an Elon Musk guy from day one. I remember the PayPal mafia stuff, the Tesla stuff. Jeez. When he started doing the SpaceX and everything, I was just like kind of infatuated with the guy. I've outgrown it a little bit now, so I can talk about it in retrospect. But that's what drove me into Bitcoin. I heard about the PayPal mafia, the whole Bitcoin narrative. And what we're seeing right now, especially with Bitcoin, is the mass marketing campaign of the century. So when I saw people like Elon Musk, and now we're seeing Max Kaiser, Michael Saylor, who I was really thinking of, not Max Kaiser.
Yeah, right.
They've become one of the most successful people in the group right now. They're kind of speaking for the community. And Peter Schiff, that was an interview I watched with Patrick Bet-David this morning. You can tell that crypto is it's still not mainstream accepted. There's still a huge debate coming on, even when it comes up to just Bitcoin. So we're not even getting into the nuances of smart contracts, different blockchains, or even, and I don't know if you've addressed this at all, ETHGate, right? Ethereum Gate. We should say it 1,000 times because this is something that's going to be a huge mainstream narrative in 2024. And we're already seeing it come to light on some of these Twitter spaces. So that really caught my attention as well. Not to go off on a tangent there. Sorry.
No, brother, you're right. ETHGate, we're definitely going to be talking about that here in just a second because it's real. And I think it's probably the biggest story that hasn't really been told globally yet. I mean, for us, we understand it, but I think it's one of the most craziest stories. I mean, you could literally build a whole YouTube channel around just that subject itself because I don't think it's ever ending. I mean, XRP has gone through what it's gone through for years. What do you think is going to take to really get to the bottom of the corruption in ETHGate? I mean, look, and I don't want to get too much off topic either, but XRP doesn't have ETHGate. We don't have a Stephen Nair of whistleblower. We don't have Prometheum and Wang Chang and China and Jay Clayton's and Backstore Millions. We don't have that conspiracy. We're just a company that got picked on. That's all it is because they realized what we were worth. So we're going to get into that in just a second. But you got into crypto. I don't remember if you told me what year it was. What year was that you got in?
Early 2020.
Okay, so early 2020. Now, what was it like? You saw this shiny thing of Bitcoin, you saw Elon and Doge, or how did you get to XRP in that whole thing?
Okay, so I was never a Doge guy. I want to preface this because I did love Elon. I never purchased Doge. I went straight to Bitcoin.
Okay.
But you know what was interesting is that I don't remember exactly what pushed me into XRP in particular. I think what happened is I went through all of the different cryptocurrencies because I remember figuring out about Stellar and Algo, and there was even an EOS phase that I had. So some pretty cool times back then.
Nice.
But can you remind me of the question? Sorry, it slipped my mind.
No, just what navigated you towards XRP? Because I'm not sure what caught your eye first. Was it Bitcoin or was it right to XRP?
So I'm going to be very transparent. When I first got into crypto, I just wanted to make some money, right? Everybody here just wants to get into the market, make some money, and hopefully put that into a business or real estate like we discussed prior. That was the exact same goal that I had. I saw this asset class. I thought this could be my shot at taking a really big risk and making a really big reward in the process. And my plan was to roll that money into real estate. Now, this was years back. My thought process, my business ideas have obviously evolved. But just looking at where we are today, it's that same evolution. We're going to have a new cycle of crypto investors with that similar mindset. I want to make some money in this market, roll it into small businesses, real estate, make my life better, but also create generational wealth in the process. And so I ended up with XRP because I heard about the blockchain. I heard about the fundamentals, the utility, the partnerships, Brad Garlinghouse, David Schwartz, and then eventually Rosie Rios came on board. That only added to my validation, but this was before the lawsuit. So I was one of the people who was in this project just before they were sued. So we were at 20 cents. And I remember we went to 50, 60, 70. And within just a couple of weeks, it was back to 17 cents. And what I like to call the opportunity of a lifetime for that bull market, because 17 cents to $1.90 over the next 4 months really speaks for itself.
Oh, wow. Yeah. And I'm with you on that one. The next question I want to do, we're going to go off on a different direction here. John Deaton, a guy that I'm just so connected to because of his background, because of the whole welfare, being raised poor, suffering, and really questioning everything and believing that he could. And that's something that I really resonate with. What do you think he means I don't know what you know about John, but every time there's an issue, he runs to it. If there was an issue with Coinbase, who turned their back on XRP by delisting, there's probably a good reason for that. But he was there. Library, he was there. Any injustice that he sees, he's there. The 75,000 XRP holders, he's there. What does he mean, or what does him running for Senate mean for crypto in its entirety?
First of all, I've been fortunate enough to interview John Deaton last June. So I want to give a special thank you to Mr. Deaton because that was a great opportunity and I'd love to do it again. But I'm from Massachusetts. So this issue really hits home for me. My family's talked about the changes that we've seen over the last few years. And I'm no politician. I don't want to get into the politics of the whole thing because I don't know how it works on your platform. It is your show, Jay. So just tell me when to stop talking, right?
No, you go, brother. You go.
And so we've seen the differences in the state, whether it's the economy, the dollar, the business opportunities, the amount of money people are willing to spend in Boston, which for a long time was a very, very wealthy part of this country. We're seeing that change, and it's changing very, very fast. So I have family there who's been embedded there for 60 years, right? Born in Cape Cod. My family had kids in Boston. So the whole ordeal really does hit home. And for anybody who doesn't know about Elizabeth Warren, when Elizabeth Warren first came onto the scene in politics, she was seen as the Trojan horse. She was the contrarian, the person of the people. Believe it or not, 3, 4, 5 elections ago, whenever it was, she was actually the one telling us we need change. Let's bring forth all these new ideas. Now, a lot has changed in politics over the last 12 to 15 years. And Jay, you probably know better than I do because I don't follow politics very often. But what makes me excited about a guy like John Deaton getting into a position like Elizabeth Warren is in now is that we could see real change from the inside. And this is an organic, real person. This isn't somebody who's owned by the institutions or a lifetime politician who's got their own personal incentives that they're not willing to verbalize. This is somebody who's proven by his track record to be by the people, for the people. And I feel like that's what America's all about.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, brother, wholeheartedly. And I couldn't have said it better myself. I love that guy. The next question I'm going to ask you is something that might be a little redundant for me and you, but I still want to hear your take on it. Is Ripple a solid company? And if so, why?
Of course, Jay. I'm sure you get that. I watched your other interviews. I know you love this question.
I love it, man. I love it.
You know what I thought about? I thought about the stablecoin narrative. I thought that would be a good time to maybe address it. Because what Ripple's doing is showing that their business model stretches far beyond what we initially saw with the XRPL. They were built to just transfer value on the XRPL A to XRP to B, right? That was going to simplify the whole process. That's evolved. And we're going to see a lot more use cases. DeFi has been underutilized on the XRPL, and a stablecoin being implemented, especially with the Ethereum compatibility, it's going to give us that best of both worlds. So I know that I went off on the XRPL tangent, but if you think about it, what Ripple's doing is they're driving business models onto the XRPL so they can run more efficiently. I see that growing over this next half decade. And let me just use their own projection to validate my point. They projected that the stablecoin market will be 2.8 trillion by the end of 2028. If Ripple ends up being, and this is a quote from David Schwartz, even the third largest stablecoin in the market, we're talking about the possibility of a $500 billion stablecoin with tons of new liquidity and use cases running on the XRPL. So when people talk about Ripple, I'm going to say obviously, and I'm also going to bring some optimism to the XRPL, Jay.
Right. No. Let me dig a little deeper in that, because obviously you start laughing when I ask that question, and it's because we understand what we understand. I did a video here not too long ago talking about people understanding business. I didn't invent anything. I just followed what successful people did, and so when I look at Ripple, And I think back being here since 17 and you've been here since 20. So you saw the 68,000 retracement down to 15,000, 6 or 7. Everything crashed down. Everyone started running. Banks were collapsing. CEOs were taking off. Companies were letting go of people, running out of the country, major, cuts as far as employees. But the one company that just seemed like it kept expanding, growing, acquiring, hiring some of the most brilliant minds around the world was Ripple. My question to you, Abs, is why don't more people see what you and I see with Ripple?
Narratives. I think it's a narrative-driven market, even to this day. And I want to give a shout out to my friend Gonzo as well, because I see him in the live chat.
Yeah, Gonzo.
We talk about this. It's not a utility-driven market yet. And until this market is really focused on the best products like XRP are going to get outshined by these short-term meme tokens. Yeah. I had a really great conversation earlier this week where I think that the name of the token was Dog with a Hat, past Hedera in total market cap. If that doesn't just show you where we are today,
yeah,
that's like a spitting image of exactly where the market is today. There's real products, but you have to be patient because there's going to be a lot of distractions in the process.
Yeah, brother. Like a lot of times on my individual, when I don't have guests on, I do my show and I go over the market. And every time I get to coins like, and again, I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but when I get to coins like Dog with Hat, I almost choke. I'm like, and then I'll start going, wait a minute, it's before all these other amazing assets. And it's just because I think people have the, lottery scratcher mentality. They're looking for that quick thing that they're on, you got more people who are willing to throw money into things that have a bunch of zeros wishing upon a star than there are people out there doing their due diligence, doing their research, and embracing the technology. And understand, this is a turtle, like when we were kids, it was the turtle and the hare. Yeah. As a hare, you're going to see all these quick things, but just like when he got burned out in that story, some of these things are rug pulls. There's a lot of things that come with that. And so I always say that with XRP, it's going to be in most people's lives, it's going to be the greatest story or the biggest regret.
Mic drop moment right there. And I completely agree, because this is where my mind goes. Right now, I could take $30 on Solana and launch the J token, the Crypto4Life token. And for some reason, you go trending on Twitter and we get $500,000 or $1 million in market cap. Well, now I have to make a decision, and it's basically a moral decision because it's 100% legal. Do I dump on the community? Do I take money out of people's pockets and put money in my own? Or do I let this idea thrive? And 99.9% of the time, we see them dump on the community. Now, it's much easier to sit here and say that I wouldn't do that, right? But if people are suffering, if they're struggling, and they get a lifetime opportunity like that, I'm not going to be one to sit here and judge them. So I'm not necessarily saying it's easy to turn down making $500,000 from a meme token. But what I am saying is I don't know if it's totally moral, right? That's right. So that's kind of where my head is on the whole thing.
No, brother, that's a great point, and I love it from that mindset or that view. So the next thing I want to talk about is something that you do know about again, and it's going to probably be a silly question, but I got to ask you anyway. Chris and Maya, Fruition Productions. These are people that I've gotten to know personally. These are people that I call my friends. These are people that most people don't realize spent their own money. And look, they went out there and created the American dream from meme coins. I mean, they literally got into some memes, became millionaires, got into another meme, tripled that up, became even bigger millionaires, and then obviously got into some utility coins and stuff like that. But instead of hiding and singing "Kumbaya, we made it," they decided to put themselves at the forefront of, I mean, look, a bunch of chaos. They're being ridiculed for what they're doing. I mean, just all these things. I mean, I personally, I don't know if I could do it. And it takes and I guess I say that facetiously because this is exactly what you and I are doing now.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah. But the bottom line is, how special is Fruition Productions and how legendary, I believe, this documentary will be in years to come.
So what I think the big game changer here is with the documentary is the ease of understanding. Even if you just watch that 5-minute short video, they kind of explain that it's not just crypto. It's not just Ethereum. We're going through a corruption problem in the USA. And this is just one very small piece of the pie that can make it easy for people to understand.
Yep.
It's difficult when we talk about ETHGate, right? And it's for this reason only, Jay. People want Ethereum to succeed. They own the token. So it's always hard to talk about something where you're going to take money out of good people's pockets. A lot of people bought Ethereum because they saw it at $400. They bought it 3 years ago. They're still holding it today. I can speak for family members who are that way. They have no opinion or even understanding of ETHGate. So it would be unfortunate if Ethereum has to crumble in order for the corruption to be exposed. And I'm hoping that we can avoid it.
Right.
But I'm concerned about what happened, because here's the thing. If it took place 5 years ago, it is 100% taking place today in some different way, shape, or form. We can do two things, right? We can go after the history, and I think it's a great idea. I hope Stephen Nureyev not only wins his case, but he gets his $9 billion for being thrown in a van and that whole thing. Crazy. But I also think that there's corruption that needs to be addressed today. And I think many of us, if we really thought about it, could figure out the names. I'm not going to say them right now because I don't know anything anybody else doesn't. I just read articles on crypto every day. I don't have any insight. But I think there's some clear political bias. You can watch by enforcement action. You can watch by who they're willing to speak to. And so if we started being proactive, I think we could avoid some corruption in the future as well.
No, I agree with you. And I think here's where I'm a little torn, because I've been around long enough on this earth and business owner and around some phenomenal minds. It doesn't take a whole lot to see the writing on the wall. The problem that I've got right now is when I look at FTX, and let's just go there for a second before we get into ETH. You got a guy who's serving 25 years. You got a guy who many people feel like that's not enough, because we know how our system works. He'll do half, and then that's what we know for good behavior or whatever the case. But then whatever side deals they cut him, it might be half of that. Yep. And the reason that I say that, and I wouldn't think that if they hadn't thrown out one of the felonies, which is who got paid. Yeah, they totally threw out where did, and you know, I got Metal on Man that's coming on. I got to look at my schedule like in sometime this next week. And he was talking about how he's representing some of these people, and the emails that he's gotten for some of these people have been devastating. I mean, to the point where they lost everything, and maybe everything was 10 grand, but he goes, along with that, I've had people hit me up, said they don't even want to be here no more. They've thought about suicide. I mean, you don't understand the level of devastation FTX caused. And for our United States of America to show how much they love and respect us, they don't, to throw that out and say, you don't need to know where that money went to the politicians, is almost, it makes me lose faith that we'll see any type of justice when it comes to Ethereum. Or maybe there's enough out there that we do. They can't hide. I don't know. But it just wavers my faith in our judicial system about what is justice. You know, especially when you look at Gensler and those guys who have been caught lying in court. It's like, we can't do any of those things, but they get away with everything. I don't know, brother.
The police is the police. That's the real question. Right. And that's what it kind of feels like in this situation. I want to give a shout out to my friend, Johnny Crypto. He always says that he believes in EthereumGate. He believes in the narrative. He thinks there's going to be zero repercussions. So it's very similar to what you're saying. We all understand. We see it. The data's in front of us. The information is right in our face. Yet we're still sitting here debating, will there be repercussions? Doesn't that show the whole thing is broken? Yep.
And I'm not saying that it won't. I think what we see, if I was to speculate, is maybe we see fines. Maybe we see penalties or even maybe some arrests. Depends on how, if they want to make examples of certain people. I don't think it's going to destroy Ethereum, because I think they let the monster get too big, which is what they did by stagnating XRP's growth. But in the same aspect, you can't let them get away with, well, let's say, let me put it this way. We've always heard, since I've gotten to space, 90% of the assets that are around today won't be here tomorrow. And if you think about 90% of the assets, I would say a big part of them are built on Ethereum, and they were ICOs, and they were, so like I said, I just don't know how it's going to play out, but it's going to be interesting. And I don't think we deserve a quick answer, but it goes into my next question. Why did the SEC call Ethereum a security now, after all those congressional meetings, brother, of him sitting there playing stupid, not answering questions? It behooves me. Why now? The only thing I can conclude as I hand it over to you is, do you give us a false sense of justice, a false sense of, okay, well, we'll do something about it now, and just so you can get to the end result, which is the Ethereum ETF? I just don't know.
I love this question. Here's why. Because I think that it's another example of them kind of acting like they're doing one thing and doing something completely different. And you probably already know all this information, but what I really think is happening, they're just going after the proof of stake shift. They're going to say all the ICO, that was an old Ethereum network that had different protocols. We can't even attack that product. We can go after the existing product today. And now that you guarantee that 9% return or 3% return, whatever it is with the yield, you're guaranteeing a return, you are now a security. So I think they're playing games here. I don't think they're going after anybody, and I definitely don't think they have justice in mind. So I guess I kept it pretty brief on that answer, but I think it pretty much speaks for itself.
No, I agree with you. Let's keep that rolling. Oh my gosh, I can't help but laugh before I ask this question. What gives them the audacity to think they're going to get $2 billion? Why would they even ask something that's stupid at this point? And the reason I say that, and I giggle, because they probably could have got a lot of money. I don't think 2 billion maybe last year, but they let the fight go on so long, and we've been winning the fight so well. Why would they ask that now? Go ahead.
You know what I find interesting about the 2 billion? And again, I'm shouting out the digital asset investor here. It's a plaque on the wall for Gary Gensler. Last year in 2022 or 2023, whatever the data is, think about this. They made $4.9 billion from all fines of all committees combined, meaning JP Morgan getting fined $1 billion by making 20 billion on manipulating gold. These are facts, people. Just type it into Google as we're doing this interview. JP Morgan made $20 billion in profit by manipulating the gold market and paid $967 million in a fine. Well, you know what that's called? A business expense, right? Yeah. That's an Ethereum gas fee right there. So that's that. I forget the question. Can you remind me? Sorry.
No, just what gives them the audacity to think they're going to get $2 billion?
Right. They don't. I don't think they do think they're going to get the 2 billion. I think it's one of those, you ask for a huge number. It's a negotiating tactic. But at the end of the day, we know they've been losing consistently in court. They're losing in many ways against Coinbase when it comes to secondary sales once again. Yeah. And so I think it's a losing battle for the SEC all the way around. I really do.
No, I think you're right on the money. And I think it's like, if they went after the 700 and whatever million in pragmatic sales, whatever it's called, they might get maybe, 50 million. I mean, it's going to be a small amount. Maybe if they ask 2 billion, they hope to get 100 million, 100 something million. I don't know. I'm sure they're going to get something, but what, I don't know. But I think it's definitely a tactic. And, I also think it's partially part of what they're doing to just keep the market frustrated, because obviously a lot of us had hope. When we saw, the Judge Annalisa Torres, all these other things, and then you look up and you see Coinbase, the ruling with them and secondary sales are not securities and all these different things. Well, you get hope, and all of a sudden 2 billion is like, oh my God, that's like a dagger. Where are we going to go from here? But I do believe what the Bearable Bull said earlier. I think that the fact that they gave a number says that we're closer to a settlement than we ever been before. And
I wanted to I feel like I was a little bit too dismissive of the topic, but the reason is I've covered it so much on my show that I feel like I've talked about it so much.
Yeah, no worries.
The thing that I've really had an issue with the $2 billion fine is what Garlinghouse said right off the bat. Show me the client that was harmed.
Yeah.
So when we're talking about gold manipulation and only getting fined $1 billion, tons of people, everyday good people, lost money. Yeah. Almost everybody in the gold market lost money because of that manipulation. Yet there wasn't anyone who lost money from Ripple or XRP, and they want double the fine. Again, this stuff really does speak for itself. If you want to do some independent thinking, what I'm trying to say here, guys, is the SEC is not operating in the best interest of the people. They are operating in the best interest of their, how should I put this? Associates.
Yeah, no, that's the best way to say it. When it comes to XRP's price, and obviously you've been around, you've seen it, you see the hopium, you see the frustration. I think a lot of people that are in the retail aspect of it, either they get it or they don't. If they don't, they're comparing it to everything that sells out there as far as Shikaka coin, this coin, that coin, meme coin. And that's why they're getting frustrated, not understanding that I believe personally that there'll be a day that we stop following the market when we're embraced the way we're meant to be embraced, when we're utilized for what it was created for. Yep. I think at some point we detach ourselves. But in the short term, I was asking the Bearable Bull this. He said, maybe 15 to 20 in this bull run, and I think a lot of that. Look, here's what I'll say: if we get a settlement, and we're done, and we don't have any more obstacles in front of us, who knows where this thing could go? Because I think at that point, not only do you have people like us that jump in, you start having some of these big money, I wouldn't say institutions that are going to be partnering up, but you have maybe people on the BlackRock side and other companies like that start. So wait a minute, this is the only project with full legal clarity, and it's done. And so I can't imagine what that might look like. But in that, I think in the short term, we have a dollar amount. In the long term, obviously, I look at what Ripple said it was created for, or you have the Hill Capital that said, some of these astronomical numbers by 2030. Give me your short and long-term views or visions, or maybe even opinion, not financial advice, on XRP.
Of course. And it never is, people. It never is.
Never.
But here's the thing. You know what I love about XRP is that it's so emotional. People get very emotional when we talk about this. And I feel like polarization is the key to success. People have to love you and hate you in order to pay attention. And clearly there's a lot of people who care about XRP. Now, you asked me about price. I like to keep it realistic just because I've been here so long. I'm not going to go as far as to say a $20 target is what my expectation is. But you know what I do think is a reasonable expectation? The 1.618, which is the Fibonacci's, you get to about $6. I think that's a very fair, moderate price target. And if I'm trying to set people up for success, I could say a higher number and people will probably be more excited. But I think $5 to $6 is almost a given just based on these three narratives. The resolution of the lawsuit, like you described, stablecoin regulation with Ripple now being a key player, and just the market cycles. XRP is one of the top movers if you look at the bottom of the bear market to the top of the bull run, even during the SEC lawsuit. So there's a lot of optimism on my end, and I've seen people become overly pessimistic these last 4 months. I think it's honestly a positive sign for the XRP project in and of itself. So that's kind of where my head's at.
Brother, I think it might be one of the most compressed, spring-loaded rating. I mean, it's just.
And I wouldn't be here if I didn't agree, right?
Yeah, exactly. When that thing pops, it pops. But let me ask you another question. Why do you think people that are unlike you and I, or people like-minded, get so frustrated with XRP right now? Why do you think they're getting so frustrated?
Two things: expectations. You're setting yourself up for defeat. If your expectation is $5.89 and we go to $120, you've fallen well below your expectations. So expectations are everything. And I love this kind of cliche saying where it's comparison is the thief of joy. Watching a project like Solana go from $9 to $200, and it's obviously from a fundamental utility standpoint, not as good as XRP for many, many reasons. I think that's frustrating for people. And it's like we started the show off with, right now we have dog with a hat passing Hedera. That's the state of the market today. And I think it's fair for people to be frustrated, but you have to have a plan. You have to stick with that plan because emotions, that's the easiest way to lose in investing.
Brother, I love what you just said because it's the 5 things I talk about. So number one, you have to have a strategic plan. And the reason I say strategic, because you can have a plan. The people that got on the Titanic had a plan. I don't know if they had a strategic plan, but they had a plan. Number 2 is do your own research. Number 3, you got to control those emotions. It's the number 1 killer in this space. You get so frustrated, but if your plan is on point, control those emotions. Number 4, have levels of taking profit. I'm not saying go all out and I think that's where a lot of people are going to lose their money or lose the opportunity. Is they might see a $5 or, like you said, a $6 XRP. I'm out. I'm done. Woo.
Yep.
And they sigh, and it's all of a sudden there's a little bit of a correction, and then boom, and you're thinking, wait, I'm gonna buy back in when it gets to $6, and it never happens.
Yep.
And I think that's where people are gonna miss the boat. And then number 5, I always say, which is focus on your why. Why are you doing this? What's your reason? I always say, if your why doesn't make you cry, it's not big enough. And for me, it's my family. So stay focused on that, and all the things that you do, the decisions you make, and you can't go wrong. That's I guess from that point, let's talk about.
And just because you did ask long term, let me just give a short answer about long term.
Okay,
that's where I'm most bullish. So I think it's almost impossible to predict, and it's not impossible. There are much more informed people than myself where these things will go in the short term. When I look at the long term and I think about the fundamentals, there's so many things that XRP will have an advantage with. One of the only tokens with regulation. We're going to see a stable coin with utility launched on top of the blockchain. We're going to have regulation for stable coins. So we're going to have XRP with regulation and then the stable coins with regulation.
Right.
I think it's going to be a new day and age in only 3 or 4 years from now. And if people have the patience, XRP will be, from my perspective, one of the most profitable products. And we haven't even talked about an ETF narrative because me and you discussed it earlier. This market's irrational. It's driven by narratives. Just the news of an ETF alone could drive XRP well above $1. And then who's to say Bitcoin's not creating new all-time highs? Liquidity floods in. XRP's at $1.40. People get excited. It's like a ball going down a hill.
Yeah, brother. I don't want to be funny or anything like that, but I saw you move around a little bit. I saw the shirt. It looks kind of cool. What does it say on that shirt again?
Oh, that's Merlin. That's the smartest way to track your crypto, Jay, in case you didn't know.
Let's talk about it. What is Merlin and how are you involved with it?
So I'm the senior engagement officer for Merlin, and I get the benefit of working with some of my closest friends. We actually created this thing from the ground up. Johnny Crypto, Coach JV, Jeremy Gonzo. The listeners may not know who they are, but they know who they are when I say their names. So
big time.
36,000 lines of code. And what our application does is it does exactly what you described. Lets you get in, connect your portfolio without custodying any of your crypto assets and create an exit plan. Wow. You can use our application to figure out price targets, what your profits and losses will be, as well as your tax estimates. And you can do it all in one location. So let's say you have an Uphold, a Coinbase, a Ledger, and a MetaMask. All 4 of those can seamlessly connect into Merlin, and you can track everything from one location with an exit plan and with tax estimates. So we really are changing the game. And if you guys look around, there's nobody else who can do the exit plan stuff right now. So we take a lot of pride in that.
Brother, that is phenomenal. That is phenomenal. I definitely want to know more about that. Speaking of which, it brings me to a different topic, which is how do you feel about diversifying your portfolio?
So that's a lesson that I had to learn the hard way. Going all in on speculative risks, like I described early, was what led me to be successful. But I got crushed emotionally during that 2020 time when Ripple was sued by the SEC, because I was an emotional investor at that point. And obviously I've evolved, and we discussed it today. But when I was first entering this market, it used to be a great year if you could make 25% on your portfolio.
Yeah.
I remember that. I remember thinking, if I can make 25% each year, that is bragging rights right there. Nowadays, you make 25% in a quarter, and people are frustrated because the project right next to it did 75%.
We're spoiled.
And so that's where I feel the diversity really comes into play. This market moves in liquidity waves. Bitcoin, larger altcoins, smaller altcoins, then you get into the memes, the speculative things. If this market moves at different times, it would make sense to have a little bit of portfolio allocation in each portion of the market. And now, I don't want to tell people to buy or not buy anything, but I think it's difficult for smaller investors to purchase Bitcoin, because if it's $70,000 and you want to 2x your $100 investment, that means $1.3 trillion of new money has to come into this market. So it's easier to speculate on some of these smaller projects. And even a project as big as XRP, that's, I believe, only 33 billion in total market cap right now. Ethereum is over $400 billion. That means XRP could do a 10x in price and still be below Ethereum from a market cap perspective. Plenty of opportunity. And that's why I always diversify, because if Bitcoin moves, you lock in some of those profits. You can even put them into some of the projects that haven't taken off yet. And that's how I kind of manage my portfolio. Now, that is a little bit more risk heavy, and I wouldn't advise anybody to do that. But that's what I've done with my diversity. I've got my long-term multi-year bags where I have a plethora of almost 24 cryptocurrencies. And then I've got some short-term 2-month trading bags as well. And that's a smaller list, but the long-term bag, very diversified, but also very XRP heavy, if I'm being honest.
No, I love it. Now, I see your YouTube, which I had everyone go to. I see the link tree, which I had everyone go to. What is your YouTube channel? 3T
Warrior Academy. And you can type in our show, Good Morning Crypto, and that will come up right away.
Oh, okay.
We are a live stream every single day, Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern. And guys, if you're watching Jay, if he accepts the invite, he's going to be a guest. So you better tune in when Jay comes on as well. So thank you so much, Jay.
Oh, man, it's done. I actually just went over here. I'm going to pull it up and subscribe to the channel.
Awesome.
Let me get over here real quick. And now, normally, I see you on with some really cool dudes, man. You got a cool team.
Thank you.
If you don't mind shouting out who they are and maybe how they can get followed as well.
You know what's awesome about the guys that I get to work with is that we were friends and we came up before the show. So it wasn't like we started a show and now we're all friends. Like, this is an organic friendship. And I want to give a couple of shout outs to Johnny Crypto, of course. That's my right-hand man. You'll see him. Some people call him the Italian Stallion. That's his name. So,
I love it.
The Italian Stallion, Johnny Crypto, guys. You just type these names in on Twitter. We've got Gonzo, who's phenomenal when it comes to AI gaming. He also does TA. He's amazing. My good friend Mario, a.k.a. the Node Defender, and Andrew Cashflow. That's our solid 4 rotation. Those are the guys you're going to see almost every single day. So I couldn't be more appreciative of them, and I definitely couldn't do what I do without them every single day. I get pretty bored talking to myself, Jay. So shout out to those guys. They're really, really special.
One of these days, I got to have you guys back on and just have a round table with a bunch of.
Let's do it. Just say the word.
Absolutely, man. I'm looking forward to it. So let's get into, if you don't mind, where do you see crypto in the next 5 years? Because there's so many numbers being thrown from, ARK Investment, Kathy Woods, and you've got Michael Sell. Some of these numbers are 1 point something for Bitcoin and all these different things. And this is where the Hill Capital said they expect a 25 to 35,000. And you got all these for XRP. You got all these numbers. Where do you see crypto in the next 5 years? And why are people so bullish? Do you think the elections have something to do with that?
I am very bullish on the idea that a new regime will create new opportunity for crypto. The EU is already passing crypto regulation in December. I believe December 30th, they have to come out with all these new guidelines. How long can the United States drag its feet through the mud before a new group of leaders come into place and say, what the heck have we been doing here for the last half decade? But to put it straightforward, where do I think we're going to be by 2030? Here's the thing. Do you know anything about the World Economic Forum and Agenda 2030? I'm sure you do, yeah?
Very little, but some. Yeah.
So the idea there is that you're going to own nothing and be happy. And what I figured out is I think the way that they're going to do that is by making everyday goods and services, like people won't be able to buy a car because it's going to be 2 years worth of salary. You won't be able to buy your house because that'll be 17 times your salary. They're going to price the everyday investor out of the market, and they're going to drive us into what I'm calling, and I'm not an advocate for this, universal basic income. I do think they're going to roll that out, and I want to make it very clear. I'm just predicting the future. I'm not an advocate for that. I think it's a horrible idea. So one of the things that is dangerous about universal basic income is that you're just diminishing the value of the circulating supply of currency. You can only have value if there's scarcity. If there's zero scarcity, there's almost zero value. And if you didn't learn that lesson during 2020, when we printed $4 trillion and put it right into the market so we can all play 3 times the amount on our chicken, then it's only going to get worse when they amplify that. So I think in the next 5 years, there's an opportunity for regular people like us who are kind of ahead of the game. I'm not sure how many people are watching. However many people are watching this program, definitely a forward thinker. Not many people who aren't independent forward thinkers are watching niche shows like us talking about crypto and forward thinking ideas. They're like, oh, there's a new movie. There's a Kardashian show. There's an article about some celebrity who's going through some crazy change. All this stuff couldn't be less relevant. And I think in the next 5 years, there's an opportunity sitting in front of us. But if we miss it, we may be sitting in a different situation where we can't give this same speech in 2030. So that's kind of where I think we are.
No, I agree with you wholeheartedly. And shouts out. Thank you so much. Becky says James is pronounced Val Hill. I'm glad I got that one. Okay. Yep. Val Hill. So that's awesome. And by the way, man, you got a cool friend. I like my best friend. One of my best boys is Mike O. And Gonzo, man, that dude got a lot of love for you, man. He's all in the stream showing you love, man.
He's a great. Listen, I say it. People think it's cliche when you say like, oh, I got the best team in the game. Yeah. I'm lucky enough to say I'm surrounded by people I consider to be better than myself. So I'm one of the luckiest guys. And you know what? I think it's a lead by example situation. We have Coach JV who does lead by example. He's not somebody who says one thing and does another. So it's pretty simple to be authentic when your leader is authentic. Yeah,
no, I got a lot of love for Coach JV. Matter of fact, he's supposed to come on the show. We've been communicating. We connected on a X Space, and he reached out to me. Hey Jay, I heard what you said, and we've been negotiating. So I think his I can't remember who it was, but he said someone's working on trying to get everything done so we can get him on the show. That's going to be absolutely incredible.
That is.
Yeah, shouts out to Gonzo. So before we move forward, guys, we have almost just under 800 people watching live in 40 minutes on X and on YouTube. We definitely appreciate you guys in a major way. I'm going to ask you guys to go over to our Crypto4Life channel. Guys, make sure you show your love. Hit the like and subscribe and notification bell so you guys don't miss any of these incredible interviews that we've been doing, like with my brother Abs here with Good Morning Crypto. So guys, do me a huge favor and do that. Let's go on to the next question. Your views on BRICS, Ripple, and the Bank of International Settlements. How you think that's going to play out?
So here's what's interesting for me is that it's inevitable, right? We have to figure out where Ripple sits in this whole process. So I kind of compartmentalize this question. I think there's this inevitability of people moving away from the US dollar because we're just a different country. We're a different organization than what we were in 1971 when people shifted onto the US dollar standard. Yeah. And we've already seen major shifts in petrodollars, where I believe that petrodollar transactions are down over 40 or 50%. I wish I was an expert in this stuff, guys. I put all my time into crypto, but I do read some of these oil articles as well. That's what my dad actually does. My dad is in the oil business and owns auto shops, stuff like that on a small level. Level, though.
Right.
And so where was I going with this? With BRICS, what I'm trying to figure out is what you described. All of the signs are there that Ripple is kind of in the mix. They're in the think tank. They're involved in the conversations. Now, how much of that is going to benefit the XRPL? Because I think it's almost undeniable that Ripple is sitting at the round table and discussing these innovative ideas, but I'm not entirely sure how involved they're going to be on the actual back end of these products. Because like we've talked about, private blockchains versus public blockchains, there's almost zero chance that banks are going to give us access to their data, but there is a chance that they leverage the blockchains to run the liquidity on. Right. So we can kind of compartmentalize this, but that's really where my head is. I love the idea of Ripple being involved in the conversation because it gives them a competitive advantage. but I'm not certain enough to make the statement that I think they're going to leverage the XRPL, because I wouldn't want to mislead people. And I think it's still up for debate.
Right. No, I definitely agree with you on that. Once upon a time ago, Abs, we knew Silicon Valley. We talked to, San Francisco. We looked at America being as being one of those countries full of innovation and great ideas. And then you saw all this stuff happen with the SEC companies that are leaving, literally want nothing to do with the United States. Why do you think the SEC has done everything they can to stagnate crypto as far as its growth here in the United States? Why is that? I don't see it as being beneficial or advantageous. Why do you feel like that's happened?
I think we are 50 years into a process that people like me and you, none of us signed up for. So I think the SEC is just, let me put this politely, they're basically a puppet for the incumbents. Yeah. They're basically just a talking head. They're the arms, but they're not the brain. So you may say, oh, the SEC is the one, they're the knuckles. They're the one who actually hit the punch, but the brain behind the arm is somebody completely different. And so I think the SEC is kind of a representation of how things have gone too far with. I'm trying to be careful here, Jay. So
no, I'm with you. I'm with you, brother. I'm with you.
I don't want to make too many outlandish statements when it comes to this stuff, because I believe everybody who's really thinking about it and paying attention, I'm kind of just stating the obvious. I'm not saying anything that these people aren't picking up on themselves, but the SEC they're not on a mission to protect investors. They're not on a mission to even look right in the history books. Right. I think the SEC is going to look terrible during this process only 5 or 10 years from now. And many of the guys who we talk about every day, Clayton, Gensler, Hinman, these are going to be the Bernie Madoffs of our generation as the confetti falls. So I love it. I really believe at some point there's going to be enough truth tellers that expose some of this corruption. And if that's true, then we are going to be sitting in a situation where we all acknowledge it.
Yeah, no, I agree with you wholeheartedly. Final question before we get up out of here, or maybe the second to the final question. CBDCs, are they good? Are they bad? Your take.
I believe they're bad. I don't think central bank digital currencies are money. I think they're a mechanism of control. I think it's really similar to, let's say, like a food stamp. Like, they're going to basically prevent you from having the free spending ability that a US dollar gives you. So if I get a central bank digital currency and I can spend it at Lowe's and not Home Depot, is that really cash?
Right.
I don't think so. So I think that it's something that needs to be spoken about really broadly. There's a lot of people who understand the idea of central bank digital currencies, but I don't think they fully grasp the freedoms that they're giving up. So I think we could talk about that a little bit if you're open to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But one of the things that I've realized about money in the US dollar is that there's almost, when we're talking about paper dollars and the exchange of cash, especially free cash, like you go to a foreign country, you stop at a coffee shop, you pay cash.
Yeah.
That's a different type of a process than if we were paying Bitcoin and they're seeing every transaction is being taxed on the spot. So what I think they're doing is they're shifting us into a system where the people who control it now have more control over the money, more control over people's decisions. And that's something that we should all be trying to prevent.
Yeah, no, I agree wholeheartedly. One of the things I was going to ask you was on my mind. Actually, I'm going to skip that. There's something else I had wrote down here. If I was looking into Good Morning Crypto, what is Good Morning Crypto? What is your objective, and why would people want to tune in? Because I love the show. I think it's amazing. You and your whole crew are amazing. Talk a little bit about Good Morning Crypto, what started and where you guys are going with that.
So 2.5 years ago, we got the opportunity to do this show, and we were going to do it for 5 days. And because we had a following, after those 5 days, Coach JV came back from that vacation. He goes, listen, we're going to turn this into a daily show. So we just started rolling it out 11 a.m. Eastern every single day. That was back in, I believe, February of 2022. So February 2nd of 2022 is when we did our first episode, and you wouldn't believe how different it looks. So nobody go back and watch that episode. Okay. It's a different show. It's a learning process, right?
Right.
But the whole idea was that we wanted a platform to share what we knew. And we felt like we couldn't have engaging conversations in our everyday lives. I felt like I was obsessed with this thing. And when I go to the gym or when I go and be with my friends, nobody really, not only did they not want to talk about it, they didn't even know what it was. So it wasn't even a place where they were contrarians. They just didn't give a crap. And so I was trying to find people who were like-minded. And we talked about this earlier in the show. I'm really big on like intentions, like spirituality, finding a group. I think that who you are creates your reality. And so we don't have to get into that too much, but I think who you are as an individual is what manifests in front of you. And I was fortunate enough to be, searching for a place where I could be around like-minded individuals.
Right.
And we found Coach JV at the 3T Warrior Academy. It wasn't until a year later that we actually started doing the show. So I was in the academy every week for a year, making videos, doing Friday videos, just taking every opportunity that I could get to not only be around Coach JV, but some of the guys that we described earlier, like Gonzo, Mario, Andrew Cashflow. And this is our group. What's really awesome is that we're not one of these teams that, and this is not, I don't know if anybody else is like this, but when you look at traditional companies, it's a revolving door. Hey, you're going to sit at desk number 33 and you're going to do your work and, don't make a fuss. You don't have to do all your work. Just get home. Don't, you know what I mean?
Right.
This is this is more relationship oriented. And so I felt like that was a really unique opportunity. That's what drew me into Coach JV, relationships. And that's what you kind of see on our show. We're just a bunch of friends discussing crypto topics that we think people will be interested in. And that's something that I'm taking advantage of every day,
Now, when you're talking about, I hear his name a whole lot. I think he's a phenomenal guy. I got to see him on stage last year. He's on another level when it comes to his heart, the love that he has for people, serving people. If you could describe, your how you feel about Coach JV, how would you do that?
So I can't say it enough. I wouldn't be who I was without JV because JV gave me the opportunity to kind of lean into this identity. I was in a different state. I was still searching not only for financial freedom, but where can I be around people who have similar interests to myself? Right. JV really hit home when it came to setting your intention, reading Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. He gave me Richest Man in Babylon, expanding my mind, expanding the way that I was thinking. And that just bled into crypto and all these other aspects of my life. So I can't say enough positive things about JV, but if there's one word that really does come to mind, it's integrity. He's the same guy on camera that he is off camera. He's the same guy in a group that he is kind of on a personal level. Right. And I've had enough conversations with JV on a personal level where I can say like he is well beyond like a business associate or something like that. I do consider him a friend and a mentor and somebody who I can look to for guidance. So I don't even really think about JV. It's funny because he's my boss, but I think about him as more of like somebody that I aspire to be like. I look at certain things in him and I think if I applied those to myself, I could be a better individual. And that's what the whole relationship was about. Me kind of learning from JV. I definitely know my place as well. Any young people out there, this could be some advice. If there's anybody who's under maybe like 18 to 25. Right. If you are willing to be humble, if you're willing to sit there and listen and maybe not share your opinion, or you're willing to sit there and just be a sponge or a fly on the wall, as I like to say, the amount of opportunities that you'll get by being the type of person who's capable of doing that, I think that's one of the things that I took and kind of ran with to get my opportunities. Yeah, he's a great guy, and I can't wait to interview him and get to hang out with all you guys here in Vegas. Final thoughts? Anything that you want to end with to all those that are watching now? Just over 800 people live on X and YouTube. Anything you want to end with? Well, first of all, I want to say thank you because I want to say thank you to 800 people listening, for Jay to have me on. And there's something else that really catches my attention is that we talked about patience. If any of these 800 people can just be patient enough to let this process play out, create a plan and stick to that plan, I think there's tons of people who can make a lot of money. I know people are frowned upon when they say this, but everyone's here to make money, right? Yeah. That's what we want to do. We want to have freedom for our families. We'd like to ideally create generational wealth so you can give it to your kids and your kids can have better lives. Everybody has a similar goal. And I think that what separates the average person from the generational wealth, it's just patience. That's right. It really is. If you're willing to wait 7 to 10 years for an opportunity, you can almost guarantee if you stay focused, it will come. And now I'm only in my 20s, so it may sound like a little cliche, right? Like I'm talking about things that I'm still in the process of creating, but I really believe these things. So I think it's worth sharing. Yeah, man, I definitely respect everything you guys are doing over there at Crypto, at Good Morning Crypto. I appreciate you. I appreciate, who is it? Is it Gonzo for being here and your support, brother. It really speaks volumes to who you are. Shouts out to Coach JV. Shouts out to all you guys that are here. Guys, I appreciate you guys in a major way. This is my friend, the man, the myth, the legend, Abs. Good Morning Crypto. Appreciate you, brother, for coming on. Guys, make sure you guys tune in tomorrow. We actually have a special guest. Let me see if I can actually bring that up before I get up out of here. We have the ladies' night on Friday, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then tomorrow we actually have Jake Claver on.
at 12 p.m. So guys, make sure you tune in for that. Again, brother, I appreciate you in a major way. Thanks for all you're doing. For all you guys that are watching, we'll see you guys soon. It's your boy James, aka 68J. Until next time, peace.
Thanks so much.